Hello and welcome to this episode of Shmashup. Today I wanted to talk about how appropriating Black culture needs to stop. And I mean it needs to stop in a big way. We must become way more aware of the harm that it causes. Cultural appropriation itself is a tactic of imperialists. So if we engage in this tactic of imperialists, what we're doing is we are aiding and abetting the system of power that is imperialism. And from imperialism we get colonialism, from imperialism we get genocides, from imperialism we get financial domination, debt trapping, the relentless slavery of non-white people towards white supremacy. The different Black peoples around the world have created their own cultures resisting white supremacy in different ways, using different tactics and different cultural attributes that then get appropriated. Cultural appropriation always distorts, bastardizes, and then profits off the culture that it's just stolen from. That's what cultural appropriation does. This is not a surface issue. The way that this issue is so often portrayed in the social justice movement is, this is about what Halloween costume you wear. Completely ignoring that Halloween itself was an indigenous festival, many different indigenous tribes and their particular practices. And when they get wiped out by Christian supremacy, their practices are then appropriated by Christian supremacists, who then bastardize them and distort them and use them for their own profit. So when we're talking about Halloween costumes, the outward surface issue of what someone wears to Halloween is simply a micro-symptomatic way of recognizing the much deeper problem that is cultural appropriation is a tactic of imperialists that comes out of the genocide of indigenous people. And there are many, many Black peoples all over the world who were stolen indigenous peoples. And even if they were not stolen, their lands were colonized, they were ruled over by white supremacists, by Christian supremacists, by different types of Abrahamic supremacists. This happened to them. So when we're talking about the cultural appropriation of different parts of Black culture, what we're talking about is the appropriation of the cultural tactics that Black peoples around the world have created to resist white supremacy. Here's an example. The word woke has become utilized now around the world as a way to mock and dismiss people who are fighting for justice. It's become a term that is almost like a sneer. That's what's happened, except that that's not what that word means. That's not what it was ever meant to mean. The word woke comes directly out of Black culture, specifically African American Black culture in the United States, as I understand it, right? And maybe it came from a different part of Black culture and I'm not aware of that. Let me know if it came from some other part of Black cultures around the world. As far as I understand, it is a word that came out of the Black culture in the US, and it refers to Black people talking about themselves and people in their community who have begun the process of waking up from the fog of white supremacy that has been controlling them all their lives. And as they wake up from that, they begin to realize all of the ways in which they were subconsciously going along with it. And now that they're waking up, this is now the time for them to begin resisting in a big way to protect themselves and their community. That's what that word means. And that's all it means. So someone else who is not of the Black American culture or just simply Black peoples around the world, someone who is not of that community or any of those communities referring to themselves as woke, or referring to other people who are not from that community as woke, is incorrect, and it's a dismissal of the Black American struggle for liberation. And this is why we as a society have to be aware of that, and we have to stop doing it. It's not that we just woke up one day and decided to do it. It's that term woke was culturally appropriated by the people in power, by the media, by corporations, by people in positions of political power, and they used it to refer to the ways in which their corruption was harming the people. So that means that communities around the world who suffer because of all of those people, who suffer because of the corporations, who suffer because of the people in political power, who suffer because of the racist system, who suffer because of all of those things, they saw that term as an insult to their own struggles for resistance. Do you see how this works? And do you see how it's an imperialist tactic? Because not only does it mean that imperialists get to steal Black identity and use it for their own shenanigans, it divides and conquers different marginalized communities who are fighting to defend themselves and their own people, and it gets them dismissing each other's struggle. That's highly damaging to everyone. I'm a Hindu. I'm a brown Hindu woman. I know the pain of my people when our words, our terms, our philosophy, our language, our religion, our culture, our practices are all stolen and distorted and bastardized and then used for the profit of imperialists, and how that directly harms us. I know that pain. Because I know that pain, I don't ever want to be part of inflicting that pain on other people. And I absolutely don't want to be part of inflicting that pain on Black people in the US or Black communities anywhere in the world, including in Hindu communities. Here's another example, the term cancel culture. So people think that this word means when anyone speaks up to defend themselves and they get beaten down by the people in power or the people with influence, they get beaten down and dismissed. That's what they think it means. That's not what it means. Cancel culture, the term cancel culture, and cancel culture itself as a cultural practice comes out of the Black American struggle, where within their community or without their community, if there was someone who was harmful towards them, someone who was harmful towards people in their community, individuals, or the entire community, and they saw that harm, they know that they can't call the cops. They know that they're never going to get any help from those in power. They know that there's nowhere they can turn to actually get safety. So they had to create a practice whereby they would call out that particular person or that particular system, and that was then cancelled. This is no longer allowed within our vicinity, within our people, within our family, within our community, because everyone in our community now understands that this is harmful to us. It was Black people coming up with a tactic to defend themselves from white supremacy. That's what it is. And that's all it is. And it should be respected as that. So every time it's used in any other way, it becomes dismissed, even though it is actually an incredibly valid and important tactic that marginalized Black people, and all Black people are marginalized in various ways, but Black people in the USA in particular, who need help, need protection, need safety, and can never get it from the system. This was a way that they were trying to create safety for their people, and they need that. It's necessary for them. So when that term is then used in a different sense, it harms their ability to defend themselves, because now that term yet again is dismissed, is considered something other than what it is, and yet again that happened. Why? Because imperialists took this term, bastardized it, distorted it, and used it to mean something that it never did. If you use this term in that way, you are aiding and abetting imperialists as they oppress and dismiss and silence the safety concerns that are very real and valid of the Black American community. This is critical to understand, because if we don't understand this, then as different marginalized peoples around the world, if we continue in that appropriation, unaware that we are engaging in that, yet again, we become divided and conquered. That doesn't help us. That doesn't help anyone. We're all fighting against white supremacy. We're all fighting against imperialism. We're all fighting against these supremacist powers, the capitalism, the colonialism, the patriarchy that all of it comes from. We're all fighting against that. And if we dismiss the tactics that another community is using for themselves, then we weaken their ability to defend themselves. That's not okay. Cultural appropriation, as I said before, is a tactic of imperialism, and it's a very old tactic. It's been around for a long time. So if we understand that it's been around for a long time, and we go back and we look at exactly where we see it in history and how it harmed the different resistance struggles at various moments in history, and we trace it, then we can actually see how and why it's showing up in our present culture, in all of these different resistance movements around the world. We can start to identify and pinpoint exactly where the divide and conquer is happening, exactly where the bastardization and distortion of different people's cultures is happening. It's an incredibly tangled process, because not only is there culture that's been appropriated, then even the appropriated culture gets appropriated, and then even that culture gets appropriated, and it's so tangled and twisted. It takes a great deal for us to unwind it and unravel it so that we can actually look at it with a clear perspective and understand what's going on. That's why I'm about to launch my newest presentation. This is the third presentation in my imperialism series. This is so crucial for you to understand. You have been lied to over and over and over again. And without knowing this information, you are unwittingly aiding and abetting in the imperialists' activities as they silence and demean and dismiss resistance struggles around the world, including yours. So please register for that presentation. I gave you just a couple of examples, but there's a lot more to it. And you can go and read many of my different articles, many of my open letters, my blogs. You can watch other videos that I've done where I talk about different aspects of this as well, with regards to different religions, different indigenous cultural practices, different indigenous spiritual philosophies, and how it relates to all of them. You can go and read my backlog of work that is already there and register for this, because I'm going to be bringing up a lot of new information that, you know, isn't necessarily new information, but it's been placed in lots and lots of different places, and I'm putting it all together and providing my own analysis of all of these different pieces so that we can connect the dots and look at it as a big picture. I look forward to seeing you at that presentation. It'll be March 16th, so just a month and a half to go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.